Right, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the case may be for you, wherever in the world you are. I'm Maddie, I'm from New Zealand, and yeah, it'd be fun to share in the stories and our travel thoughts relating to Vagabonding by Rolf Potts. So why did I choose this book to do a workshop on? I guess a little bit of an introduction to me. Me, who I am here currently, about 15 months ago, my partner and I were traveling in Thailand and Singapore, and it was kind of a test trip. We were thinking we want to go traveling long term, but we had almost a month then, and we were thinking, is this something we could do? Could we make it work financially? Would we really want to do this? And I think the decision at the time was a resounding yes. Unfortunately, that was, like 15 months ago, we made the decision and we're still waiting to start. Just because of the logistics of getting everything put into place. But often it is just a decision that then we have to figure out, okay, how do we make this shift in lifestyle work, and how do we fit it around our life as it is? Early in the book, there's a quote that Rolf attributes to St. Augustine. He says, "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page." And for me, I think when I think back through my life, my family, we did travel a bit. My parents and my 4 siblings, we did a little bit of travel, and we migrated from the UK to New Zealand in the very early 70s. And I think I learned that life is about experiences, and that's part of the theme of Rolf's book, is it's not just about traveling, it's about experiencing the world in a different way. When I was 18, at the end of my first year at university, my mum treated me to a trip with her tramping club, a river rafting trip and it was, I was 18. I was on this trip with a bunch of old folk, most of them were 30 plus. But I started reading a book on the bus on the way there, Jupiter's Travels, about a motorcyclist traveling around the world. And I remember distinctly the moment I read the quote, was my journey really nothing more than a state of mind? And at that point, I decided I'm going to enjoy this trip. I'm not going to be a grumpy teenager. I'm going to actually make the most of this experience that I'm having. So over the years, I certainly haven't lived up to my ideals of the way to live and the way to travel and experience continuously. Certainly not in the last 40 years, but it's still been a theme. So would anyone else like to share why they're here? Why vagabonding?
Oh, nobody else wants to.
Diane, thanks.
So I have been traveling since I was in my late 20s. Sorry, I'm switching rooms, so I'm not to disturb other people in the house. I've been traveling since my late 20s, but in my childhood, my dad purchased what we call an RV up here, a recreational camper vehicle. He used to race cars and boats, and we would travel in that camper all over North America to different races. So I kind of got the travel bug young, in the sense that every summer I knew we were going to, hop in the camper and drive around all over the place. As an adult, I extended it out into other countries, and I got divorced. I got married really young, and I got divorced in my late 20s and took a job overseas, and that just started the whole thing up. So, 25 years later, I'm still traveling. Um, partly in North America, like just exploring all of Canada. I've been to all of the provinces in Canada except for the northerlymost ones. And then I've been all through the Gulf and India. Just started on Europe in the last year. So went to a few countries in Europe and went to the UK for the first time last year.
Great.
Um, yeah, for me, it's like I can't imagine the way I would view the world right now if I didn't have that experience. Because I'm in a small town, where my parents are right now, and just the way they perceive things through the lens of the media is so narrow, and there's no convincing them otherwise. They really believe that's the truth. And I wish they could have had the experiences I've had.
Yeah. Yeah, I can so relate to that. I had coffee with a friend yesterday who really hasn't left our hometown, where
Mm.
well, where I've lived, where we since we've had young children together here, and she was scared to travel on her own to our main city to visit her son, to go by herself,
Oh,
just within our country. And it was kind of like that. Just it was a reminder that the different kind of life people lead, and just her
yeah.
her understanding of what I wanted to do with my life now, and was so different. And remembering that is the experience for a lot of people, that they haven't their worldview is from the media. They haven't been out there and experienced it. So that's a key thing. Anyone else want to share why they're here? Yep. Michelle.
Sure, I can share next.
Right.
So many things brought me here. I just read Vagabonding last week, loved it. Just re-listened to the summary in Lifebook, loved it. Even asked ChatGPT, will you summarize the book again? Because I want to remember some of the main things about it. I think the book is amazing. I decided not that long ago, but it's been in process for the last couple of years to become a digital nomad. I've got the date. And Maddie, when you said 15 months and you haven't, gone yet, but you've got the decision. For me, it's February 15th, 2025. I've booked the date and I know why it's then. And so I'm, shifting things here in my life. I've lived in Calgary since 1995 because my daughter was here. She just moved away in September to go to school. And so, I am, which leaves me freer to travel. And so really excited about what's coming. I've been in the decluttering series, and I got rid of over 200 books and boxes of stuff from my yoga room and all kinds of things. So this year is going to be heading toward minimalism and preparation. I already got rid of 80% of what I owned a couple of years ago. So super excited about it. And I think another catalyst for me is a lot of people made their transition in my life over the last few years. So my life partner a few years ago, then both of my parents, suddenly they're both healthy, then they're gone. And then in the year after my parents, another 10 people, including a dear friend from high school who was fine and got hit by a car crossing the street and died. And two of my aunts, two of my cousins, like many people have just made their transition in my life. And what this has done for me, one of my friends, in talking about one of these things said, yeah, Michelle, like life is short, let's live it well. Life is short, let's live it well. And so, we're given this life. We really, in my bones, we really don't know how long it is. Like, how about, do what we want? And for me, it's still a few months out. There's some things that I want to do here, but I've already entered into this world. And I love why Vagabonding. I love his whole take on it. And Maddie, you really touched on it. Thanks, Debbie. You really touched on it in hang on, a vagabonding. Oh yeah, that it's not just travel, it's like experiencing. And Diane, you talked about that too, really experiencing the world in a different way. And I'm starting to recognize I've got some of this already in me. When I was 18, I just finished first year university. All of my friends were working, and I just got off to Eastern Canada and then 3 months in Paris. And I knew I didn't even have enough money to live on. I didn't know where I was going to stay other than at the beginning. And I had the most extraordinary experience. I changed my career. I changed everything from it. And since then, I've traveled in Central America. I've traveled in Mexico. I've traveled to Thailand. And it's time to have this be, a life, because now I can, and because it's time, and because it's all the things that we've already talked about. So thank you for organizing this, Maddie. I'm super excited to be here and excited to learn from all you guys about what you guys are doing to make this happen.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. And that's a great reminder about, and Rolf talks about it a lot in his book, about that it is that whole decluttering, and that starting to live at home the way you might live while you're traveling, with more minimal, more open to experience. Yeah, I try and vent my frustration over a property not selling, just remembering that I'm so lucky to have lived here for 9 years, and so appreciating we've had another spring here, moving into the summer, that I can just enjoy the place for a bit longer. I enjoy it so much more now. It's been decluttered and minimalized in order to put it on the market. So my space is different to what it was a couple of years ago. And certainly to what it was when I had children growing up and all their stuff everywhere. But yeah, so welcome, Melanie, as well. Did anyone else want to share? Yeah, hi, Melanie. Yeah. Did anyone else want to share anything? We carry on? Okay. Shall we jump into when to travel? Okay. All right. So I know in the audio version, Tim Ferriss does an introduction. Tim Ferriss, sort of the 4-hour work week man, writes the foreword to the book, and he's quoted often in the Vagabonding Voices. Now Tim says, for all the most important things in life, the timing always sucks. Waiting for the right time to quit that job, to have that kid, to take a dream trip. Sadly, the traffic lights of life will never all be green at the same time. Conditions are never perfect. Someday is a disease that will take your dreams to the grave with you. Pro and con lists, one of my previous favorites, are just as bad. If it's important to you and you want to do it eventually, just do it and correct course along the way. Fortune favors the bold. And I think back to when I had 3 young girls, and I still wanted to travel. My husband at the time was very settled. It was all about home and land and being in a place. And I wanted to travel, but it didn't happen. And then my younger sister got pregnant with her 3rd child in the UK. And she said, Maddie, I want you to come and help me. And I am so glad she did that, because I took my 3 children on a 100-day trip to Europe. And even the experience of traveling there, taking them on a big aeroplane, a long haul trip. I took them through Europe for a few weeks and visited various family in France and Germany. And we got stuck in Paris for extra time, and just had a blast. And it was such a great experience for them, and to give them that eye-opening experience of the world when they were between 7 and 11 years old just was a big difference for them. And of course, having time with family was pretty special over there. That I wouldn't have done that if she hadn't said she needed me to be there for the birth of her 3rd child. And we were there through Y2K, and we were expecting sort of, would we get home again in the January? And it seems such a long time ago now, and but at the time I remember the shopping and the fears about what would happen when everything clicked over. So, but anyway, that was a great experience. But there's been those moments like that. So currently, this year, like you talked about, Michelle, this year has been, my partner suffered a mild stroke earlier in the year, and that was from overwork, from stress. And he has now, regardless of us selling the house, he resigned. He finishes work at the beginning of February, and one way or another, whether we've sold the property or not, we're going. We've lost family members this year. My dad's 92. How long I'll have him around, and I just want to have the freedom to visit him as often as I want to. All those things, come together to remind me that the time for us is now, and we are doing the last few things over the next couple of months, and then regardless of selling the house by March, April, we want to be on our way, and we'll work something out as to how we can make the home expenses work, renting out the house, whatever we need to do, so that if it hasn't sold, we can still go. Yeah.
It'll pay for itself.
What's that, sorry, Melanie?
I said it'll pay for itself.
Probably just
house.
about can. Yes. Yeah. So
yeah.
We'll work that one out. So the when is often challenging, but sometimes it's just that decision and then figuring out how it will come together.
Where are you going to go?
Well, that kind of, like, a lot of people said, oh, you won't want to go to, because we'd been considering Egypt and Jordan, and people have said, oh, you won't want to go there because, obviously there's strife in the Middle East and all of that. And then I realized, well, obviously we'll look at the travel advisories, but Egypt has been a long time dream of mine. I have not been to the pyramids, my partner has. So Egypt, Morocco, doing the Med is definitely,
Well, if you do Morocco, you can come and visit me. I'm close to Morocco.
Whereabouts are you, Melanie?
Yeah. I'm in Andalusia.
Oh,
yeah.
really? Wow. Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's the coast is about an hour from here, and then it's just a ferry to Morocco. So yeah.
Wow. Yes. So yeah, because we're thinking it's relatively easy to fly to Spain and to head down and then across. So we'll be in your neck of the woods, that's for sure. Yeah. Great.
I traveled alone in Egypt and in Jordan, and now Jordan is my favorite place. For a while, I went every year for 2 months, and I now have extended family there, in the sense that they've adopted me as their daughter.
Right.
Oh, lovely.
I commented enough. If you decide to go to Jordan, same, I can connect you with people who are either in the tourist industry who know everything upside down, or some of the family that I'm connected with.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful place. I love Jordan.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. No, I think, for me, that was, I had a Lifebook accountability partner, was working in Jordan. Actually, he was there at the beginning of the first lockdown, was working over there, and that's reminded me that I need to touch base with him, because he spent a lot of time there, because we haven't kept going with that group, but it was great. Right. So yeah, where and when, I guess it can get to that stage. So for me and my partner, it was, the travel was the big connection for us, sort of 12 years ago when we met and first started chatting together, and just the fact that we both wanted to travel. And within a short time of us seeing each other, he said, I'm going to go to Greece next year. Do you want to come? And I was, hell yes. That was one of those hell yes moments for sure. And we thought, well, 5 weeks in the Greek islands could make or break the relationship, but fortunately it made it. And I guess that there was also the reality that there will be challenges, and there were 1 or 2 challenges on that trip. And one of the quotes I really liked from the book was from the Quran. Did you think you should enter the garden of bliss without such trials as come to those who passed before you? And I guess I need to remind myself that traveling long term is different to being on holiday. Especially, we'll be much more conscious of our budget. We're aware that we can travel overseas for no more, if quite potentially a lot of places will be less than what we spend at home, and I'll be following my travel budget, but that there will be challenges, and I need to be aware of that, and put in place a few routines that make life easier, so we're not making decisions every day about what we eat, where we go, how I keep my morning routines in place and all those things, that I have those things. Yeah, those things that I do. I will be working while we're away. We won't just be traveling. I've got quite a bit of online work I can do, but it won't be maybe 20 hours a week in a busy week. So, so it's not like we don't have time to smell the roses. And I guess that's about part of that decision as to how you're using your time and what one is focusing on and enjoying. So
that'll work really well. Where I live on at the moment I'm living on a paragliders campsite, and many of the people that come here are remote workers, and it works fine. You just need to get your own. It's good to have your own internet. I'm not sure I've got to get one because I keep dropping out of meetings and things when my signal drops, but you can buy a little remote thing and so that you've got your own signal really, and you just take that with you wherever you go. But works well.
So I can imagine there will be occasional, and yes, I've been thinking about what I need to ensure that I have good internet, because I do moderate some educational webinars, and kind of need to be on there if you're being the support person to
that's the best way forwards, I think. One of the guys said he was sending me the details, but they haven't come through. But it's quite straightforward, I think, and it's just a small unit. Are you going to be driving around?
No, probably
you backpacking?
Backpacking mainly.
Okay. So you got to keep the weight down.
Yes.
Melanie, when you get those details, is there any chance you could put them in the comments underneath this gathering? Because I would love to know that too, like what people use to travel with Wi-Fi. That would be amazing. Or send it to us or something.
Well, if you don't hear from me, give me a nudge, because I'm quite new to all the technology, and I'm quite new to, I've only just finished mastery and I don't really know my way around yet, so I'm quite surprised I found you lot tonight.
Well done.
Even though I was late, apologies for being late.
No, that's right. So thanks. That would be really good if you share that one. We're definitely looking at getting a VPN for the security aspect and for accessing for keeping safe on public Wi-Fi, but as well as probably we will at some points need our own some sort of Starlink or whatever it is, which I haven't done full research yet, but definitely will be needing that.
Depends on where you are. It really depends on where you are. When I was in Europe last year, I got because I was there between June and August, I got they have a special in the summers, some of the companies, and I got 100 gigabytes of data that I could use by tethering my mobile, which I never used up because then I was also using the Wi-Fi in the place I was staying. But it gave me 100 gigabytes of data per month, and it was good anywhere in Europe and the UK. So that, plus the phone as well, right? And that's so and I know the one that I purchased, you can increase the data and you can subscribe to a specific data plan with them as well, and that's just through the mobile services.
Is that that's hotspotting?
Yeah, so that's what I did with my phone. I just set it up on my mobile and as a hotspot, and then I just connect to my laptop to the mobile. Yeah.
Sometimes that works here. Sometimes it's not as strong, I don't think, as having I don't know what it is they've got. I'll go and inquire tomorrow and and come back to you.
Yeah, and I think being able to share resources like this and with share experiences is a really helpful, helpful tool. And one of the benefits of, in Lifebook, so many people are working in different places around the world and have different experiences. So that's a really, appreciate that. So thanks, Diane. So what company was that with? Was that with your own phone, with your phone company you normally use, or?
Oh, it was a new one for me. It was called 3 Mobile, like the number 3.
Yeah.
And they're based in the UK, but yeah, the plan that they have is for all of Europe.
Yeah.
And there was another one that came up when I did research called Orange.
Oh, yes. Orange is, the French one, I think. Yes. Right, for Europe. Great.
He had a better deal than Orange, so I went with 3. And
Yeah.
there's always mixed reviews about both of them, so you basically have to go with your own gut, because lots of people said 3 was horrible, but then I found the same kind of reviews with Orange. So I went with my gut, and it was fine. It was great.
Right. Okay, that's good. No, it dropped out and coming back again. That's good.
Yeah. That was the power. I'm
Yeah.
hotspotting now, so.
All right. Okay.
What this is making me think of is, Maddie, I so appreciate that you called this call. And is there any way within Lifebook to continue this conversation so we can share resources? I know that I've started scouting out different nomad sites where people are doing this, but Lifebookers are a different sport, and it's just really wonderful to have this connection. I don't know if there's a way to do it or not, either on the platform, a way to share resources, or
Yeah.
Can't you do a Telegram chat or something?
Yeah, we could set up a vagabonding accountability sort of the type of group, so that people can add ideas in. Telegram can work quite well. I mean, I can set up, we can obviously, we can put things, maybe I'll put some things in the comments for this this workshop, and we can work out the best way to keep up. I mean, I use WhatsApp groups for most of the connections that
WhatsApp. Have you looked into trusted house sitters overseas?
Not specifically. I mean, I know it's an option. There's also the HelpX, where you do 4 hours of work for accommodation and use your skills basis, but not specifically looked into that, because I think we'll be a little bit more independent, but so
can you say more about that? That's just really intriguing. So there's one called Trusted House Sitters, and then what was the one that you said, Maddie?
I said HelpX. So HelpX is a bit like woofers, but it's a bit more general, that you can use your skills. It's quite a big network of, so whatever you do, it can slot in and stay with people around the world, whether they have all kinds of accommodation. So it's a bit, rather than willing workers on organic farms, it might be anything that you connect with.
It sounds like a wonderful way to just meet people and connect with the community rather than being a tourist, And how do you, HelpX is called? How do you spell that?
So HelpX, I'll pop it in the comments. HelpX is Help EX.
Got it.
Yeah.
There's also one called Sabbatical Homes.
All right. Yeah.
That one is good. Usually it's scholars, researchers, and they're going into field work for, like, literally it was started by some scholars that were going on sabbatical and doing some research in another country, and they didn't want to give up their home. And sometimes you can do home swaps, I've noticed on there. Sometimes you can, if you happen to be wanting to go where they are and they need to go where you are, they'll just literally swap homes with you. Lots of people are open to home swapping.
Well, you might get that through Lifebook.
Yeah.
There's you might get Lifebook house swap. I've got a friend who's Hungarian living here, and she's always going. She works remotely as well, and she's always swapping with people. I'm gonna go to Portugal. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go there. And she she does an 8-hour day when she's working, but she still gets time enough to, she'll stay over the weekend and do stuff in the evenings, and workaways. Lots of people here, because it's mostly an olive growing region, so lots of people that have moved here have bought to buy a house in the camper, a house in the countryside, you have to have land with it. So Lots of them grow their own food and things, but they'll have work away. So that's 4 hours a day, but they feed you. Yeah.
One work away, yes.
So
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, all these
Yeah.
options. So definitely we can set something up so that we can put all the resources together on there. I'm happy to, yeah, happy to do that. Yeah. Oh, we yeah, right. So no, it's so definitely a number of experts in the field on the call tonight, which is great. Tonight, today, whatever it is. So
I'm sorry to bomb you. I'm sorry to bomb you. This is the first group I've joined actually since being in mastery. So it's really nice to
yeah, no, that's great.
dip
No,
a toe.
no, it's wonderful.
Welcome.
Yeah, just a recent graduate.
Just being able to connect with other people that are like-minded.
I just joined a few months ago, so I'm pretty new too.
Oh, right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
to have some
Well,
new
I
faces.
joined at the end of October. I did the Lifebook off the Mind Valley platform this time last year with a group of friends, and 2 of us are still really into it, and so we joined the platform in October.
Cool. All right. Yeah, and it takes a little while to get to know your way around the platform and to figure things out. Even
Yeah.
I've been on it since we migrated to this platform. When I wanted to, like today, reposting the this event, took me a moment to find the right ways to go into it and to make sure it went out to the community. So it's cool. Yeah. All right. Okay, planning. All right. Now John often says on his call, about no plan survives first contact with the enemy. But you have to plan, and that's the whole thing about Lifebook is you make the plans, you get your vision out there.
Yeah.
Of course it's going to change, and we all know that no matter how much detail you put into planning, it will change. And for me, the planning for long-term travel is about putting in the big bricks, the countries we want to go to. Potentially the first night of accommodation might be important to have that lined up. And then and having some things that you definitely that are on the I really want to do this list, but then allowing and like Missy talked about the mix of intention and allowing what comes, who you meet, what you discover to dictate the potential of where we go next. And for us, I'm looking forward to the times when we're kind of leaving one country and it's kind of, okay, where can we get to for a reasonable price that we hadn't even thought of visiting, and just looking at the options. So yeah, planning is definitely part of the process.
I mean, one of the things is just making sure you have a lot of different travel apps that are available. Like I found, because I like to travel, like book something ahead of time and then travel in the fly and kind of exactly what you're saying, be led to where I need to go. So I've found booking into hostels for the first few nights, 1, it's really economical. And 2, you meet a lot of other people that way very quickly because you usually have a breakfast and it's cafeteria style. So there's like 50 new friends in the room, and most of the time it's like a room full of people. So you're sleeping in like 6 with the beds of 6. So there's a couple other people you meet that way. And every time I do that, there's always at least one person who ends up becoming a long-term friend. The last trip I did, I landed in Porto, Portugal, and I'd never been there before. And there was all these crazy serendipities. There was one woman starting the Camino, and she had lost her, the deity that she carries with her for protection, the saint that she was carrying with her for protection. She'd lost it, and I had brought 2, so I gave her one of mine. And this other woman from Malaysia who just blows my mind. Speaking of vagabonding, she's from Malaysia. She has a remote job, but then she goes all over Europe working other various jobs and does work trade. And she's gone to every country in Europe. And now she's starting Africa. She went to Morocco this year, and next year she's going to start going to all the Levant countries. And I wouldn't have met her. And I traveled around with Portugal with her for a couple of days, and it was just amazing experience.
Right. Malaysia is another country.
Wow.
I've met a couple of young women from Malaysia recently, and they're
Oh, yeah.
so open and well educated and easy to communicate with. That they've got a really lovely people. I thought, yes, Malaysia is definitely when we do the next closer to home trip, Malaysia's on that list. So yeah, no, that's a great way to allow for those serendipities and those long-term friends that will come out of the travels. Yeah. So one of the things we started on our last trip, well, we actually started a little while ago. We started a 50+ backpack
Nice.
YouTube channel. We've only started putting videos on YouTube last year, but we'd started a Facebook page and a website, but basically around our philosophy of travel and the fact that organized tour groups aren't for us just because we're getting over 50. It's not about organized tours. It's not about masses of wheeled carry-on. My partner got a backpack with wheels last year, but 50+ backpack. I'll pop that in the chat. But the philosophy of just being independent travel. To remember how we write it. But I can share a link on the comments to that. And we're learning as we go, and we're really not great at it yet, but but it's kind of fun to be sharing. And I think our friends and family back home seem to enjoy the travel vlogs we did in Thailand last year. And
Yeah, they travel for you.
yes,
I find that too.
Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, our ideal is to encourage older folks to travel independently, and it's great to have experienced travelers on this call to share that. Yep, that's you can go to places like Bhutan and Portugal and all over, and on your own, and make a great experience from it. So, which is cool. Of course.
Bhutan has just recently changed their tourism laws, so now it's actually a lot more accessible for people.
Yeah.
Before it was mandatory that you had a tour guide, and now you don't have to do the government sanctioned system. You just have to pay your daily visa fee, and then you can go independently and book your own arrangements for travel and accommodation. So it's less than a year old, so I don't know how it's going. I was one of the last groups to go in on the other system, on the older system. So
Right.
I'm curious to see what it'll be like.
Is the dress code?
It's not really a dress code. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, like in Morocco,
Yeah,
in some places you need to be covered in things.
Yeah, all the women generally wear these long skirts if they're in the public eye, but that's more of a government tourism aspect. If you're talking, like, if you meet young women in other places, it's like they're usually either in pants or skirts. There's not it's just being more aware of how much skin you show. And really, it's cold enough. You're not going to really want to walk around in a mini skirt anyways.
No.
Even in the summer there, it's cool. So,
Mm.
so I was there in the early fall, late summer. And yeah, I was wearing a sweater pretty much the whole time. So
I have
Yeah.
a question, if I can ask about planning. I love what you said, Maddie, about we have to plan and then also allow, and the plan won't survive the first battle and so on, but we still need to plan. And I'm wondering either what you guys have done or are planning to do in terms of length of time in a place, because clearly it's not going to be Tuesday, it's Portugal, and Wednesday, it's, the next country, right? But then you could spend 2 years in a place or anything in between, So what have you done or plan to do, and why in terms of length of time?
It's a great question. Yeah. I guess experienced travelers, Melanie, Diane, what's your take on that?
hoping a lot. Depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing. Like when I went to the Middle East to work, I took a job teaching English before I left Canada. And where I was great because it was there was a flight hub in Dubai, so I could travel all over the place from there on the weekends and then explore. I was working in the Sultanate of Oman, and even Oman is just incredible, like the stuff in Oman. So in that sense, I planned. And once I got there, I knew what I had available to me. I started planning. But last trip that I just did through Europe, I did 3 days in Porto. Not even full 3 days. I landed, and then like 2 days later, I left and I went to Spain. And I did that more because I felt like I needed a break before I knew what I was, because I was helping someone set up a retreat center in Spain, and I just needed a break from my living experience here to kind of transition. But I loved it so much in Porto that I'm going back again this year. So it gave me a nice flavor, and I stayed in the hostel and met a bunch of other people that way. So I think as far as planning goes, if a place zings you, that's what happened with me with Porto. Because my friend kept saying, "Why don't you go through Lisbon?" And I'm like, "Because Lisbon isn't calling me, Porto is." And there was all these crazy serendipities. So I think part of it is going with your gut about how long you spend in a place. If you feel like you really want to be there and explore, then book the extra time. But the nice thing is with these cheaper airlines, Ryanair and EasyJet, it's not that expensive to fly from one country to another, or hop on the train and get a rail pass and just go from one country to another by rail. So I think it's part and parcel of what places are calling you. Book time, longer periods of time for the places that are calling you. For me personally, it's like right now for Europe, because I haven't been in Europe before, it's more like exploring and seeing how I feel about places and whether I want to spend more time there, and then coming back to it. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Or,
That's great.
making a plan like, I want to do the Camino now, and I never wanted to do the Camino before. And part of that experience is meeting pilgrims while I was in Portugal, and consistently meeting pilgrims. Every country I went last year, I kept meeting people on the Camino. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the Camino. And that in itself will open so many doors, doing something like that.
Here's the serendipity part too, because 3 of my clients have walked the Camino. One of them didn't know she wanted to and did. One has taken people on tours there, and the other one has written a book about it. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing to do. I put so much on them.
I went to France to meet a professor, and the next door neighbor, she does part of the Camino every year. And she had all these great stories, it's just it's so funny. And then I would change countries, and immediately something would happen again to do with the Camino. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to hear anything else about the Camino. And then I went to like the Northern Highlands of Scotland, and the woman I stayed with, is friends with the guy who wrote the guidebooks on the Camino.
My ex-partner did the Camino a couple of times. I had lots of food intolerances and things, so I haven't done it yet, but I would love to do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I kind of
yeah.
with the food thing, I just like make allowances because I know for myself, like I carry I'm a herbalist and a homeopath, so I carry stuff with me to account for that, because otherwise I also, notice travel. That's the other thing we should probably talk about, is just traveling with your own kind of food allowances and vitamins and all of that. That's it took me a while to learn a system for myself.
Oh, that's a great question, because I've been thinking about that. How do you actually eat healthy? Because I mean, I like to eat food that fuels my body, but when you're on the road, that's tricky. And I remember, I think Rolf Potts says if you can boil it, bake it, or what was the other thing that peelage, that you can eat it, and if not, don't. But he also wrote it 20 years ago, and there's just more access to things now, I think, at least in what I've experienced. So accessing food, that's a great question. Do you have thoughts about that, Diane?
One of the beautiful things about travel,
somebody
but then also, yes, you want to try the food of the region, and certainly the food that you can, but having with you, your staples, and some really healthy options that are easy to make, I guess, is a good idea. So, yeah.
And electrolytes and things for diarrhea. If you're going into kind of
that will be one of the challenges that will happen.
Yeah. I mean, Spain and Portugal and Europe, most of Europe's fine for all of that, but
Yeah, that would be great if you could share the names of the guidebooks, or even you said your client wrote a book about the Camino, Michelle, and Diane, you mentioned the best guidebook, so those would be great things to share.
I can put links underneath the talk, because I'll have to look them up. I don't remember the gentleman's name off the top of my head. He just passed away recently, and he donates all of in his will. He donated all the proceeds to my friend's charity that helps build fresh water, clean water in different places where it's inaccessible. So the money goes to a good place too.
My client, Marie Macano, the Chocolate Pilgrim, and it's really it's about her own journey on the Camino. So it's not written as a guidebook as much as her very own specific experience on it, and which is wonderful too, because it gives you a jumping off point for your own journey. I mean, I work with narrative, and when you hear somebody else's story, you can create your own, right?
Yeah, this guy his is he's very mystical. I mean, the community, I don't know if any of you know about the Findhorn community in northern Scotland. It's a intentional spiritual community, but it's non-denominational. They don't have a specific religious bent, so it's a nice eclectic community of people that take their spirituality seriously. And he's out of that community. So what I found with his books is he gives you the practical aspects, but then he's always giving these little side mystical content, comments of his own experiences, or so it's kind of nice, because it's like it looks like you'd be walking along with him, and he's pointing out where there's the secrets of of the esoteric and the mystique along the route, which is what I really appreciated about it.
Right. Yeah. So no, that's the kind of guidebook. I think that's what I love about Vagabonding, that there's lots of quotes and lots of all the historical vagabonders, all those stories, as well as the practical. And that's so the practical is all available, the resources on vagabonding.net, and there's lots of links, so it sort of brings it up to date, because the book was originally written a while ago, and even though it's been republished, it's still books get dated quite quickly, whereas a website like vagabonding.net, they can keep it relatively up to date on just the environment and what new things you need to know about places. And because let's face it, travel has changed a lot in the last few years, so we need to have some knowledge, not leap out into the world without any any forethought, don't we?
My experience after lockdown has been very different than from before. Yeah, quite drastically different in some places. Like I ended up spending time in Thailand before Bhutan, and I wasn't planning on it, and I'm glad I did, but it was all because of the COVID protocols. So I had to have 3 or 4 days before Bhutan and after Bhutan, just in case I needed to shelter in place, and it was a requirement. Like, I didn't have a choice.
No.
So things like that, as if they're going to do those kind of things again. They aren't now, but you never know.
Yeah, I went on some trips. We were in such lockdown in Canada. I didn't really move from this chair for 2 years, and then I started traveling again. And some places, I had to make sure that I might be stuck there for a while, and stuck in beautiful places, but I had to have the backup plans. Thinking about recent information, because the book is old, I looked on YouTube and I found an interesting interview, Tim Ferriss interviewing Rolf Potts about vagabonding, but it was just recent. So if you look on YouTube, it was easy to find. Right. And he was talking about some of the things that have changed since he was doing it, and just talking about their travels. And Tim Ferriss himself too is interesting about it. He said the only thing that he took when he traveled, and it really inspired his 4-hour work week, was Thoreau and Vagabonding, the only 2 books that he had with him. So yeah.
Yes. And that's it. I love books, but carrying lots of books when you're traveling isn't ideal. But there's that idea. We found the lost bookshop in Chiang Mai. So we were able to dispense with the one book I'd taken and find something else to replace it. And there's always bookshops with English speaking books in them, and something that you might not otherwise have picked up, like Thoreau or whoever, that you may not have read yet. So, which is cool. Yeah, I am thinking, as everybody speaks about experiences and places to go, I am thinking that the next thing I really need to learn is time hacking, because learning how to manage time and live in a different way with time is I think it's part of what vagabonding is about. The reality is I'm not going to get to all the countries in the world, and I don't actually want to or need to, and I'm curious as to how many years I'm going to want to be traveling on the road for, not have an actual home of our own. It might be 2, it might be 10, I don't know, but it will be a really, really cool journey. One of the last quotes I wanted to share that is from Rolf Potts himself. He says, "Vagabonding is not a lifestyle, nor is it a trend. It's just an uncommon way of looking at life. As much as anything, vagabonding is about time, our only real commodity, and how we choose to use it." And I guess as Lifebookers, we've all become much more intentional about how we use time and how we see the importance of the time we have here. And I tend to think, that vagabonding is a great way to show people what's possible in the world and connect with the world. So, and if anybody else would like to share something, we've just got a few minutes left till the hour is up. So any other shares and thoughts, most welcome.
Just want to quickly.
You go ahead, Diane. Just a quick question: who you've met on the road, like Melanie, where you are? You said there's so many people from elsewhere there, and I'm kind of curious. Is it young people, old people, people who've been traveling for a long time, people who are there for? I guess you meet all kinds of people on the road, but I'm just kind of curious.
I'm not so much a vagabonder as I sold my home and I sold my business to go traveling, but in a motorhome with my partner. Right. And then he I didn't take my license to drive. It's big, it's 10-ton truck, and I didn't take my license because I was having spinal surgery. So he took his license, and then we split up after we were in Spain. So I've been trying to import the truck and things like that, but I can spiral out from here, but I'm not a vagabonder yet. So and this is a great spot because it's a paragliding mecca for Europe, really. Apart from the Alps, this is the place everybody comes. So people come here from all over the world, so you meet some really interesting people, and they also use it as a bounce point for Morocco. So yeah, and it's close to lots of areas, close to Malaga, Seville, Jerez, airports, so and Gibraltar actually. So it's really easy to duck off to places. But I've been pretty tied here. Well, I've got my residency because I'm from the UK, but I took my residency in Spain because yeah, the UK's in a pickle. So I didn't want to be there. Yeah. So it's wonderful here. Yeah, everybody's super friendly, and yeah. So I dodge out. I just come back from Italy and Switzerland, but I don't go for long because I have animals attached to me and things now. So it's kind of organising their well-being and where they go. They're just rescues and ferals. But yeah, yeah.
It's definitely a bigger commitment once, yeah, looking after the animals, but certainly to be able to have the freedom to be in a place of the world like that and be able to bounce off it, like you say, and meet people from all over the world must be wonderful.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, definitely. Yeah, I wouldn't go back to my life. And I tried boats as well, but this is good. Yeah. So but maybe I will just put on a backpack and wander off. Sounds like a good plan. It's very easy once you're in Europe because everything's just connected to everything, so it's easy to move around.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught, Melanie, I'm in New Zealand, so for us to go anywhere is a long flight, really.
Yeah, I heard your accent. My kids are actually, their dad was a Kiwi, so they both went over to New Zealand and lived. My son lived in New Zealand for 7 years and my daughter for 5. So and they move around as well. So she's in Switzerland at the moment. They're back over here now, but yeah, son's homesick for New Zealand.
Yeah.
Can't surf here like you can surf in New Zealand. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a big jaunt.
Yeah,
I would organise somewhere. If you're coming the distance, you'd probably be good to organise somewhere for a couple of days, really. Just are you good with your jet lag and stuff?
Yeah, it's always take it easy for a couple of days. But not too bad. But definitely, for that distance, definitely, have a couple of nights somewhere and then extend it at that place if we like it, or find somewhere else. I'm always concerned about the idea of, they say you can book Airbnbs a lot cheaper if you book for a whole month. But I feel like if I booked somewhere for a month and tied myself to a place and don't want to stay, that's the challenge. Yeah, there will always be somewhere that we can find to go to, I'm sure, to find a place to stay.
Well, and if you need something comforting, booking.com's lots of people here use booking.com. If it's just for a night or two. It's there's loads of accommodation through Europe. Yeah.
Give options. Which is great. So looking forward to getting over. Yeah. So Jyan, what are you trying to show us there? It's actually really not showing.
Yeah, that's what I was told. Maybe there. It's this tiny little reader. Like, here's my hand.
Yeah.
It's not that big. Yeah. And you can change the size of the font. And I have like 300 books on here. So I
Right.
never run out of anything to read. And it literally fits in the back pocket of my jeans.
Right.
So for those of us who like reading, this is an awesome little thing.
Yeah. I've thought that would be a good thing that I would like to get, because reading on a phone is not the same, and I think an e-reader is much easier to read. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have dyslexia, so I love this thing because I've got a dyslexic font installed on it, and it's so much easier to read on that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the dyslexic font?
It's if you Google dyslexic font, it'll come up, and it's heavier on the bottom and it's kerned. So like these simple kind of fonts that have no serif, no little lines on them, are much harder to read for people with dyslexia. So it's a serif font that's been kerned heavier on the bottom than the top, and it helps keep your eye moving along the line of the word.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take a look at it.
Yes. Yeah. No, resource. So what we will do, if we can, put some resources into the comments, and I'll have a think about how we could set up a group of like-minded life bookers for traveling. So
Sounds great.
great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks for
Lovely
being
to meet
here.
you
Thanks for
all.
sharing. Thank you everybody for all your shares, and wonderful to have you all here. It's really appreciate the conversation. So all the best, everyone.